I mean, you're a lifelong fan of the game. And when you saw that ball go out the other night, 62, what thoughts went through your mind?
Well, I was thrilled for our fans. I mean, it was something that everyone was anticipating. Thrilled for Aaron. It's a monumental achievement. And I think it's one that will stand the test of time.
So the test of time is an interesting way of looking at this thing, because you know what some people will ask. There are fans, there are people in the media, Roger Maris Jr., who would suggest they think this is the real home run record. What do you say about that?
Well, the record books say what they say. I think that over the history of the game, there have been different eras. The ball performed differently. The equipment was different. And I think the best way to handle it is let fans make their own judgment as to what records are most significant to them.
I get that part of it. Now, one thing that has been brought up, we've talked about it a lot on my radio show, I talked about it with Bob Costas, is the possibility of delineating those differences into the record book. For example, not to remove Barry Bonds with 73. We all know he did it. We all saw it. It's the record. It will always be the record. But that perhaps you could draw a line at 2005, say, this is the record after baseball instituted drug testing, that sort of thing. Is that, when people suggest that, obviously you've heard this conversation, what is your reaction when people wonder if that was a possibility?
Well, there's just so many different variables. You know, there's a period of time when, you know, the ball was different. There's a period of time where obviously we had steroid use. I think, in effect, people do that already. That when they look at the numbers, they look at the numbers and make a judgment based on the era in which those numbers were achieved.
I get it. I guess just one more on this. The one thing I wonder is fans now look at it that way, but this is for history. This is something that will be read about 100 years from now. And so someone like me might say, I'd like Aaron Judge's name to be in that record book so that 50 years from now, when people don't remember and don't understand the context, that it could be contextualized in that way. Is there any sense to be made from that?
Look, I think that numbers that were achieved during the dead ball era, which was hundreds, every fan knows that. I mean, they know that and they understand that. And I think that with respect to these home run numbers, fans of the game are going to continue to have that historical context.
Fair enough. So he had an unbelievable season. Let's talk about another guy who had an unbelievable season, and that's Shohei Ohtani. I want to make sure I get this right. Marcus Stroman described him as a mythical god, which actually almost doesn't seem like an exaggeration. What does someone like him doing what he's doing mean for the sport?
Oh, he's massively important to the sport for two reasons. Number one, he's a transcendent talent, right? I mean, professional sports are about great players, and he is one of the greatest. I think the second thing that sometimes gets overlooked a little bit is he's really important to the internationalization of our sport. It's vital that we attract and have players from other countries at the very top of our sport, and he certainly is that.
Yeah, is that quantifiable? Like the growth that someone like him is able to bring internationally? Is there data on just how much one player like that can make a difference?
Oh, the uptick in engagement as measured by ratings, activity on our apps and other digital devices, there's a measurable impact from Ohtani, particularly in the Far East.
All right, so that's the past, if you will. That's the season that is behind us. Now let's talk about the present. As I mentioned, tomorrow the 4 wild card series begin. You told me you'll be at 4 games over the next couple of days, you know, right. the 2 games of the weekend. What should the fans most be looking forward to in this new format?
I think that the new format is going to be a tremendous kickoff to what could be one of our best postseasons ever. We think the broader format keeps more fans engaged in the postseason, and hopefully they'll stay with us the whole way through.
What are some of the things that you were hoping for? For example, we were discussing before the show, perhaps it has already borne some fruit, if you will. The Braves and Mets just played this past weekend. It's a sort of a sore subject for some of the people in the studio here who are Met fans, but what essentially amounted to a postseason series already. So some of the things that are happening in these playoffs have already been significant for what happened in the regular season.
Well, I think the way the Mets and the Braves played down the stretch, the series, particularly last weekend, shows the format is good. It keeps everybody playing all the way through the end of the year in order to get that bye in the first round, which is great. We certainly saw it from an attendance perspective. We had weekends in September, overall attendance numbers that we haven't seen since 2014. And that down the stretch, making September better, really was an important goal of the postseason format.
So that all begins this weekend. And then we look to the more distant future. I'm fascinated by this, and I think baseball fans everywhere. The game is going to look substantially different when it comes back on the field next year, instituting things like a pitch clock. What are you hoping that the changes that you are instituting will accomplish?
Well, over a very long period of time, we've done fan research and listened to our fans as to what they want to see from the game. More action in the game, more athleticism, a nice brisk pace to the game. Based on really extensive experimentation in the minor leagues, we think the rule changes are going to deliver to our fans what they want.
I mean, very specifically in AAA, if I read this correctly, it shaved 25 minutes. The pitch clock itself shaved 25 minutes off the length of the game, so there is an expectation that it would do something similar at the major league level next year, I would assume.
Yeah, it may not be 25 minutes. I mean, the major league game's different.
Right.
But we do think that it will produce a pace to the game that's more appealing for our fans.
And one final thing before I let you go, and we so appreciate you coming down here. You said before the season, at the end of all of the labor discord that delayed the start of the season a bit, that a priority for you was to get that relationship to a better place, the relationship between yourself and the union. How would you describe where it is right now?
Well, I think one of the best parts of 2022 for me is that I had an opportunity to meet with small groups of players at all 30 teams. That dialogue was really positive. We found a lot of common ground on a lot of issues. I think we cleared up some misunderstandings. And I think that kind of back and forth, informal, is the first step towards a better relationship with the players over the long run.
What sorts of specific things what are their concerns? What are baseball players in 2022 worried about?
Well, it's a range and it differs team to team, but some of the topics are economic. How does our system work?
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.